dive straight in. Picture this scene.
Yeah.
A militant group in the Philippines, Abu Sayyaf, announces they've captured a CIA agent. Headlines flash, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the reality was a twist. Their captive was an American tourist, Jeffrey Schilling, and they were demanding a cool $10 million for his release. Quite a start.
It's a powerful opening, yeah. A situation just brimming with misinformation and, well, incredibly high stakes. But that initial confusion, interesting as it is, isn't our main focus today.
Right.
We're actually plunging into a fascinating aspect that emerged from this very crisis, the surprising power held within just two specific words in negotiation, words that can instantly reshape any conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this deep dive takes us right into Chapter 5 of Never Split the Difference, and we're zeroing in on the often underestimated impact of that's right.
Yeah, our mission here is really to go beyond just simple agreement. We want to explore how getting someone to say that's right can unlock genuine understanding and create real breakthroughs in communication and negotiation. It's about moving past a superficial yes to achieve a deeper level of connection that can actually lead to, changes in behavior.
All right, so how do we get to this magic moment then? Well, the FBI's Crisis Negotiation Unit, the CNU, they actually developed a model for this, the Behavioral Change Stairway Model, or BCSM. Think of it like steps.
Precisely. It's a 5-stage framework designed to build trust and understanding, incrementally. It starts with truly hearing the other person that's active listening.
Okay, step 1.
That forms the foundation for empathy, really grasping their perspective and their feelings. From there, you build rapport, a sense of mutual connection.
Mm-hmm.
This progression then allows for influence, where you can start guiding the conversation, and ultimately the goal is behavioral change.
And it's interesting where this model finds some of its roots in the psychology of Carl Rogers and his idea of unconditional positive regard.
That's right. What Rogers suggested was that, significant personal growth happens when individuals feel entirely accepted for who they are without any judgment.
Total acceptance.
Yeah. Now, often the positive feedback we get growing up has conditions attached. It depends on us saying or doing what others think is acceptable, right?
Sure.
And this can make us hesitant to reveal our true thoughts and feelings, leading us to only share what we think will get approved.
Which really highlights why a simple yes might not mean someone is truly committed or will actually follow through.
Yeah.
The book has this compelling example of a patient needing heart surgery.
Oh, yeah.
The doctor outlines all the critical lifestyle changes needed for survival, and the patient wholeheartedly agrees, yes, doctor, absolutely, I'll do it all.
But, the sobering truth is that numerous studies show that a huge percentage of these patients, even after such a serious scare, don't actually stick to those changes.
Right.
That surface yes just doesn't translate into genuine internal commitment. And while our everyday negotiations might not be life or death...
Hopefully not.
Right. Hopefully not. But the underlying psychological principles at play when we're aiming for real change are remarkably similar.
So this behavioral change stairway, it's about building an environment of that non-judgmental acceptance bit by bit through those 5 stages.
Mm-hmm.
And the ultimate payoff, the real turning point, isn't just a yes, but something much more profound.
Exactly. Based on years of experience, the author suggests that if all you're hearing is yes, you probably haven't genuinely connected.
Interesting.
The real magic happens when you elicit those 2 seemingly small words.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see this in action then. The Abu Sayyaf hostage negotiation.
Yeah.
This is where the transformative power of that's right really becomes clear.
Yeah, the backdrop is critical here. Jeffrey Schilling is kidnapped in the Philippines by Abu Sayyaf, a militant Islamic group known for, violence. Their leader was Abu Sabaya, a figure with a pretty notorious history.
And the FBI's Crisis Negotiation Unit was brought in, and the author Chris Voss took on the role of lead international kidnapping negotiator.
Right.
And Sabaya's opening move was that huge $10 million ransom demand. The book really digs into his reasoning, which was, let's just say it was quite particular.
Sabaya's rationale, it stemmed from a couple of key points. First, the U.S. government had a $5 million bounty out for info on the remaining World Trade Center bombing suspects.
Okay.
His logic was, if they'd pay that for someone they opposed, they'd surely pay double for one of their own citizens.
Interesting logic.
And second, another Abu Sayyaf faction had reportedly just received $20 million for European hostages, disguised as development aid from Libya's Gaddafi, some of it even apparently in fake currency.
Wow.
So in Sabaya's mind, a precedent for a high payout had been set. It's fascinating how individuals can construct these elaborate justifications for their demands, even in, extreme circumstances.
So he basically saw a shilling as this valuable asset, and $10 million was his starting price. But here's the catch. Schilling's family wasn't wealthy, and the U.S. government had this strict policy against paying ransoms. So their initial strategy was to try and engage Sabaya in a back and forth of offers, hoping to wear him down, maybe create an opportunity for a rescue.
But Sabaya just flat out refused to engage in that kind of traditional negotiation. For months, he held firm on the $10 million.
So what did he talk about?
Well, instead, he consistently brought up historical grievances going back like 5 centuries to the Spanish colonization of the Philippines, the perceived oppression of Muslims.
5 centuries.
Yeah. He spoke of establishing an Islamic state, alleged violations of fishing rights, a whole litany of complaints he framed as justification. He called the $10 million not a ransom, but war damages.
War damages. Okay. So that kept things in a deadlock. It raises a big question.
Yeah.
How do you negotiate when the other side just refuses to play the conventional game?
Exactly. And adding to the urgency, Sabaya would periodically issue these threats against Schilling's safety. It was a prolonged and incredibly tense standoff.
Now, the first really significant "that's right" moment actually happened in an unexpected place, not directly with Sabaya, but with Benji, a key leader in the Philippine National Police.
Yeah, Benji was a highly respected commander of their Special Action Force, a dedicated officer, strong record in rescue ops. But initially, he was very skeptical of the FBI's approach, this idea of building rapport with Sabaya.
He probably just wanted to go in strong.
Totally. He favored a much more direct, forceful approach. Establishing any kind of connection with a terrorist was just abhorrent to him, which highlights a common challenge in these crises. Different stakeholders often have really conflicting ideas about how to proceed.
Makes sense. So the author found himself kind of negotiating with Benji, too. After weeks of intense collaboration, Benji said he needed a break.
Mm-hmm.
The author agreed, but only if they could go with him and keep working on the strategy. And it was during one of these more informal sessions that the author sensed Benji's deep frustration.
Right. Recognizing Benji's resistance and these strong negative feelings towards Sabaya, the author used a label. He just said, "You hate Sabaya, don't you?"
Wow, direct.
Very direct. A direct acknowledgement of Benji's powerful emotions. What's fascinating is the willingness to just address those negative feelings head on, not ignore them.
And Benji just let loose.
A torrent of emotion. He spoke passionately about Sabaya's violence, the murders, the rapes, even recounted how Sabaya had taunted them over the radio after attacks, celebrated the death of one of Benji's men.
Jeez.
That emotional outburst, that was Benji's "that's right" moment.
Yeah.
By acknowledging his deeply held anger and letting him express it, the author kind of inadvertently helped Benji process those feelings. And surprisingly, gain more control over them. From that point, Benji became a much more effective collaborator and negotiator, really embracing the strategies they were suggesting.
It really underscores the power of just acknowledging someone's emotions, even the really negative ones, as a critical step towards building trust.
Absolutely. It's like by acknowledging the elephant in the room, the unspoken thing, you create space for a totally different kind of interaction.
So after 4 long months with Sabaya still stuck on these war damages, the strategy shifted. They decided to try and elicit that directly from Sabaya himself.
Yes. The key was to reframe Sabaya's perspective using his own words in a way that might just lower his defenses. The author instructed Benji to use almost every active listening tactic they had.
Okay, like what?
This included purposeful silences, let Sabaya talk himself out, maybe exhaust some of that emotional energy. Minimal encouragers like yes and to show he was listening. Mirroring, yeah, repeating key phrases Sabaya used. Labeling, identifying, and naming Sabaya's feelings like, "It sounds like you feel this is profoundly unfair," and that generates a lot of anger. And paraphrasing, restating Sabaya's points in his own words to show real understanding.
And the big one was the summary, right?
Yeah.
The book explains an effective summary isn't just repeating facts.
Exactly. It blends re-articulating the meaning with acknowledging the underlying emotions. Benji was told to listen intently and then summarize The world, according to Abu Sabaya, all his grievances about war damages, fishing rights, centuries of injustice, everything.
The idea being that if someone feels truly heard, truly understood, especially when their complaints are articulated back to them empathetically, they feel validated and might be more open.
That was the hope, that after such a thorough, empathetic summary, Sabaya's natural response would be, "That's right." So 2 days later, Sabaya contacted Benji. Benji listened patiently, used all the techniques, and finally delivered the summary of Sabaya's narrative, his history, the intense emotions tied to it.
What happened?
Silence. For what felt like an eternity, Benji said almost a minute.
Wow.
Then Sabaya uttered those crucial words, "That's right."
No way.
The effect was immediate, profound. The war damages demand completely vanished.
Just like that.
Just like that. From that moment on, Sabaya never brought up money again. He eventually got so disillusioned, Schilling actually managed to escape. And remarkably, even after the escape, Sabaya called Benji and acknowledged the impact their communication had had on him.
That is incredible.
It truly underscores the power of that "that's right" moment. It signifies agreement without the feeling of having conceded anything.
Right.
It breaks the impasse because the other person feels genuinely understood. They feel like they've independently come to agree with what you've summarized. It's a subtle but incredibly effective form of influence, a stealth victory almost.
It's amazing how those two simple words can unlock so much. But the book also points out a seemingly similar response that can actually be counterproductive. You're right.
Yes, that's a key distinction. You're right can often be the least effective response in a negotiation. Think about when someone's just persistently bothering you. What do you often say just to get them to stop talking?
You're right, yeah.
Exactly. You're right. It might end the interaction temporarily, but it doesn't indicate genuine agreement or understanding at all. It's often just a way to shut someone down politely.
The book shares a great personal story here about the author's son, Brandon, playing football. Brandon kept agreeing, saying, "You're right, that as a linebacker he should avoid blockers." But his behavior on the field never changed.
Right. He kept trying to just power through everyone. He was agreeing intellectually, maybe, but the concept hadn't truly resonated deep down.
So what changed?
The turning point came when the author used a label. He said, "You seem to think it's unmanly to dodge a block."
Naming the underlying belief.
Precisely. And Brandon's response.
That's right.
That was the moment he actually acknowledged his real motivation, the unspoken thought driving his actions. Once that was out in the open, he could reconsider his approach and, ultimately became a much more effective player.
It beautifully illustrates that critical difference. You're right can be like a conversational dead end.
Yeah, often a brush off.
Whereas "that's right" signifies a genuine shift, a real moment of understanding.
Exactly.
And this principle, getting to "that's right," it isn't just for hostage situations or parenting football players. The book shows it works in everyday scenarios too, like sales.
Oh, yeah. The example of the pharmaceutical sales rep is quite telling. She was struggling to sell a new product to this doctor who was already using similar meds and just wasn't receptive.
Heard that before.
Right. Her initial attempts to just highlight product features totally failed. But she adapted. She shifted her strategy to focus on understanding the doctor's dedication to his patients, the specific challenges he faced.
So less pitch, more listening.
Much more listening. Her next visit was completely different. She started by summarizing what she learned about him in his practice, acknowledging his commitment, his efforts to personalize patient care.
And the doctor's response.
A genuine, "That's right." He felt understood. And that simple act of acknowledgement just broke down his initial resistance and opened the door for a real conversation.
So she didn't just jump back into the sales pitch.
No, she let him talk about his treatment philosophies. And then she was able to position her medication as a potential solution to some of the specific challenges he had just mentioned. She made the sale because she first made him feel heard and validated.
That really underscores the importance of establishing that connection first, making the other person feel seen.
Absolutely. And this principle extends to career advancement, too, shown in the story of the Korean MBA student.
Right. He returned to Seoul, wanted to move to a different division in his company, but his former boss was hesitant.
Even though company policy didn't strictly require it, he felt he needed his ex-boss's approval for political reasons,
Yeah, office politics.
Exactly. His initial talks were getting nowhere. The ex-boss just kept advising him to stay put.
So he switched tactics.
He did. He adjusted his approach and started asking questions designed to uncover his ex-boss's real motivations. Why did he want him to stay? He kept probing.
Digging deeper.
Right. Through careful questioning, active listening, the student got his ex-boss to acknowledge two key things. First, that he needed someone in headquarters to help network across divisions.
Ah, a hidden need.
And second, that the boss himself was aiming for a promotion and needed someone to advocate for him with senior leadership. These were the unspoken needs driving his resistance.
And the boss's response to acknowledging these needs.
In both instances, that's right.
Wow. Double, that's right.
Well, that's right. And that breakthrough led to the ex-boss not only approving the student's move, but also revealing how the student could actually help his career aspirations. Mutual benefit unlocked.
It's remarkable how achieving that's right, can reveal those hidden agendas, those black swans as the book calls them, and create unexpected opportunities. The chapter wraps up with some really insightful takeaways.
Yeah, one particularly powerful lesson is captured in that Chinese expression, sleeping in the same bed and dreaming different dreams. It perfectly illustrates the difference between just superficial agreement and genuine understanding. Just because two people are saying yes doesn't mean they're truly aligned in their thoughts or intentions.
Exactly. Those polite nods, the quick yeses we often get early on, they're just no substitute for truly grasping the other person's perspective, their underlying goals, their fundamental motivations.
And that's precisely where the power of "that's right" comes in. It signifies that you have reached that deeper level of comprehension.
Right.
Cultivating that sense of unconditional positive regard, making someone feel genuinely heard and validated, that creates the foundation needed for shifts in their thoughts and behaviors.
And the crucial element for triggering that "that's right" moment, it comes back to that well-crafted summary.
Yes, it's a combination of accurately labeling those underlying emotions and paraphrasing the substance of their words to show you truly grasp the world according to them.
It's about identifying, articulating, and emotionally validating their perspective. That seems to be the key.
That's the key to unlocking genuine understanding and moving way beyond just surface agreement.
So to recap this deep dive, getting to "that's right"
Yeah.
is a really powerful tool for achieving genuine understanding and influence. In any negotiation, any communication really. It's about moving beyond a simple yes to a place where the other person feels truly heard and agrees with you based on their own internal assessment.
So here's something to think about. Consider a recent conversation where you heard a yes. Was it a true "that's right" moment, indicating real understanding and agreement? Or maybe just a polite way to end the discussion? How might applying these techniques we've explored today, active listening, empathy, labeling, paraphrasing, summarizing, how might that have potentially altered that interaction? It's a valuable framework for looking at our daily communications and aiming for more meaningful connections.
That's a great thought to leave people with. And speaking of valuable frameworks, join us next time on The Deep Dive as we unpack another essential concept from Never Split the Difference. We'll be delving into the art of skillfully using "no" and exploring why it's actually such a critical component of effective negotiation.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Definitely won't want to miss that.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive. We trust you found it insightful and maybe a little thought-provoking.